Hey, what's going on, you guys? It's Kate Jaramillo here, and I am actually just chatting with my friend Alicia Caine today. Alicia and I were introduced in a women's mastermind group, and literally she was like talking about what she does, and all of us that were on the call were like, "Can we write you a check right now to help us?" I mean, just what she does and the services that she provides are what every single one of us on the call were looking for and needing. So the reason it was just so amazing that we were all kind of like brought together on this call in the first place. We were all, we're all relatively new, like, six-figure entrepreneurs. And that's, this goal that I think a lot of us have when we start our business. Like, I want to make six figures. I want to get there. And then you do, and maybe you kind of like stumble and fight your way to that income. And then you sit here and you're like, oh my God, like, okay, I'm still in debt. I still have, my overhead is growing, and I still don't really have a growth strategy in place because I don't even know how I got here in the first place. And so I know that so many of you are here, like the ones that are in my network. So I wanted to bring Alicia on today to just talk a little bit more about her experience, because this is her area of expertise, the things that she sees, these new six-figure entrepreneurs, like the main issues that she sees them facing, and how we can like fight past those and grow and scale our businesses to however big we want them, right? I mean, like, we all maybe have different goals. I want to be a multiple seven-figure earner. And maybe that's not your goal. Maybe it is. But either way, you're sitting here now hitting that six-figure mark, which, by the way, congratulations, because that's a huge, huge thing to be celebrating. But let's help you now, like, figure out your issues, solve them, and scale. So, Alicia, thank you so much for coming on today and spending time. I really appreciate it.
Oh, you're so welcome.
I know for me, it's just been like this. I was so proud of myself for hitting, like, those income goals. But like, even for my own business, and I was sharing this with you, I'm looking at my monthly overhead now. I'm looking at my year-end spend. I'm looking at some of the things I've invested in that, I put on a credit card, to be honest. And I'm just wondering, like, where do I go from here? How did I get here in the first place to a place of, like, spending so much more, a growing overhead, and how do I scale? So I know that this is your area. What are some of the most common issues that you're seeing these like newer six-figure entrepreneurs facing?
Well, I think that in the first part of up to six figures in business, what most entrepreneurs are dealing with is that they're dating their business. All of their products, all of their services, everything that they're doing, they haven't yet really made a commitment. And they're just like, I don't really know if this is my thing yet. I don't know if this is what I really love doing. I don't know if this is really what I'm passionate. Like, I know I am in this area, but I don't know if this is the thing yet. And so they get through the process of that. They're just kind of dating their business. And instead of just committing to it, like a marriage, and being like, this is my thing, for better, for worse. And so whenever something doesn't seem to do well, they kind of like stop marketing it and they start creating something else.
Yeah.
Instead of problem solving, of being like, why isn't this thing working well? Does the course, if it's a course, does it need to be better? Do I need to have better marketing? They don't sit and analyze. They don't collect data. In dating, you don't collect data. In a marriage, you collect data. You're like, this is what's, you're like paying attention to things when you're in a marriage. You're, watching for things, you're gathering, with dating, you're just kind of like, I don't really feel this. It's feelings based. And so up to that six-figure mark, a lot of people just they're launching constantly new things, trying to find out what are they willing to commit to. And so that is one of the biggest things that I first will identify with someone is like, are you dating your business, or are you committed to this as a career? Is this your thing? And so you have to really identify that. Are you ready to just settle down and commit to something and refine it and make it work? And I know that's really hard for visionaries to focus on one thing, because they're like, yeah, but I'm really passionate about this and this. And this, and that the problem is that, it's just like again, I always bring it back to marriages and relationships. It's like, it's really hard to have a deep connection with something when your feelers are out everywhere.
Oh yeah, for sure.
And so it's just like, if you would fall more in love with that thing if you stopped thinking you needed all the other things.
Oh yeah. Oh my God. I can so relate to that. I so relate to that. And feeling like, oh, I have to continue to add on more and launch more things. Yeah.
Yes. And all of them are not doing well because you're spread so thin trying to put a little bit of love into all of them, and none of them are getting really nurtured.
Mm-hmm.
And so you're just starting to resentment starts growing for all these relationships you have with each of these products, and you just start resenting your business. And so that's often a point where people really start hitting walls in their business, where they can't scale it, make the right decisions for what's next. They'll just stay in that place circling, creating more and launching more, or and so that is, and it's for that reason, is because they're just not committed. So that's usually the first thing that I really hone in with someone is, how committed are you? And you might not love a product at that time you choose to be committed, but you have to be like, this is going to be my thing, and I'm gonna everything into it. And so that's the first step that I try to get people to do, is commit to something, and then just lavish that thing with all your time, all your energy, and don't think of other alternatives. Like, don't have a bailout plan, like, oh, this is my plan B if this doesn't work. Like, cut it off. Like, there's like, I'm committed for better, for worse. And because when you're committed for better, for worse, you're going to start looking at it more objectively instead of emotionally, of how you feel about it. You're like, okay, objectively, how is this working for my clients? Could I make it better for them? Could I be serving them better? Could I be doing better marketing efforts? You can start looking at it more objectively instead of like, oh, nobody wants it, nobody loves it, everybody hates me, and like getting really emotional about it. Yeah. And so once you have that, the next thing is like, once you decide to commit to your business and a product, then coming up with a business plan. And everybody hates business plans. Like, they just think that they're just like so boring. And it's super simple. It's just like, where do you want to see this business in 1 year, 3 years, 5 years? Because that will start helping you make better decisions about what you're going to be launching. Like, if you're going to focus on one thing, you're going to, every time you have those bright, shiny object syndrome, or, like, ooh, squirrel, like you want something new. You're like, wait, you come back, you circle back to that business plan. And that business plan is like, does creating this brand new idea I just had, does that get me closer to that 1 year, to that 3 year, to the 5 year, or is that pulling me away? And sometimes those great ideas do help those things. Yeah. And they can help you move forward, where you can have better clarity about what needs to happen now to get you to that 1 year, that 3 year, that 5 year. And so, but they can also help having a place that can filter all those other ideas of being like, that does not serve me. I know it's a great idea, but maybe I could put it in my 5 year and say, 5 years, let's look at this. And so I like to really have that in stone with business owners, that they have their goals in place. Like, this is the plan that you want to have in place, and someone know about what that is, because a lot of entrepreneurs keep everything stuck in their head. It's hard for anyone to keep them accountable. So every time you have this great idea, you tell your husband, oh, I'm going to do this, they're going to be like, okay, yay, go you you do it, and you can get encouragement to do the wrong things, because nobody knows what your goals are. You're not going to be like, no, remember you said you were going to do this.
And I think having somebody like that's a business-minded person, not saying that like your spouse or your partner or something like that isn't a business-minded person, but like, it's very different. Like, the camaraderie between entrepreneurs and the understanding, it's just very different. Like, I would rather share my vision and goals with someone like you, with like an accountability partner, that I'm like, this is what I want to do. And then when I'm like, oh my God, look, squirrel, you can just be like, no. Like,
Yeah, because a spouse can be very hurtful.
Yeah.
In a way that when they're like, you know, when they say, you know,
Yeah.
if I tell someone, when my clients, you know, and I'm holding them to their goals and vision, they're like, oh yeah, that's right. That's what we pay you for. And it's so funny. And I know spouses often get really frustrated. They're like, oh, you'll pay someone and you'll listen to them. And I can say the exact same thing and it hurts your feelings, but it just is. And I think we respect people that are invested in, like, I'm paying you
Right.
to hold me accountable because I know I need it. And I'm going to listen because I'm invested in what you are doing for me.
Mm-hmm.
Know that you're doing this for my good. And so when I come in and someone's like, oh, I'm going to launch this, I'm going to do this and this. And I'm like, that sounds great. I'm so excited for you. And I think that that's something that, but let's put that in your 5-year, because that is not serving you right now. And it's so funny, by the time they get to there, even if you tell them like, let's talk about this in a year, by a year, they're over it. They're like, and that was a bad idea. And like, aren't you glad you didn't invest time and energy into that, because you already knew, oops.
Yeah. No, bad.
You already knew that it wasn't meant to be.
Yes. Oh my God.
So putting things on pause, and that's what I love to do for people, is not tell them no, but let's talk about this in a year.
Mm-hmm.
And it's usually in 6 weeks, they're over it. It's not even a year. And so you're just like, delete that idea. And I've become a filter for people's ideas. And so that they can feel like they can still be creative and get the ideas out, because it's really hard for creatives and, you know, visionary people that want to solve problems to just stop seeing problems. Like, you can't. So having a way to get that out, brain, and like I call them brain farts, you know, it's just like getting those brain farts out can still keep you feeding into the things that you are doing already. Like, keeping your energy and your enthusiasm and your excitement high, but knowing not to divert from, you're like, okay, that's a great idea. Can that serve us what we're doing here now? Or is that creating something else that diverts? Because we don't want to divert. So, you know, having those ways to do that. So those are some of those things, those starting things of getting someone in your life that can be that for you. And I like to use the analogy of like how, like, Walt Disney had his brother Roy, and a lot of people don't know that Walt Disney didn't do much for his company other than come up with ideas. He didn't delegate, he didn't execute, he didn't figure out how was this going to get done. All he did was like, hey, what about this? Or what if we did this? That was his whole job in Walt Disney World and everything that Disney created. And his brother Roy was the one that was the bridge between Walt and the technicians that actually got it done. Roy kept reined in. He kept, you know, like, financially, that's not a good financial decision for us. We're not going to do that, but let's go this way. And he kept him reined in so that Walt could do all his creativity, doing what he did best, but he didn't have to talk to the people that were going to get it done. So
oh my gosh,
had that, he didn't even talk to them. He didn't work. Like, if he talked with the technicians, it was like, hey, how are you doing? It wasn't that, but he wasn't managing the employees. He didn't have he wasn't even on the board. Like, a lot of people don't even know he wasn't even the CEO. His brother was the CEO, and Walt's the one with the statue. About him, but he didn't even sit on the board of directors. He didn't want to know about any of the business decisions, and Roy made every single business decision for him because he knew his vision. He knew where he wanted to go. He wanted, this is my goals. This is what I see for our company. These are the things I want to create. And Roy was like, awesome. I will figure out how we'll get that done. I'll figure out.
Oh my God. That, I feel like, and that is like for so many of us, for so many entrepreneurs, because we truly are like solopreneurs. We may have, you know, some virtual assistants and stuff like that here and there. And that's kind of another thing, right? I mean, like you'd mentioned, just like if like Roy Disney was like managing the employees and stuff. I feel like we get into this position. We are these like entrepreneurs, and we have these visions that we keep in our head. We don't have anybody else managing, you know, like our are those like financial decisions and stuff, like I know that so many people are in the same boat as me. Like I have like an online course graveyard. Like I've bought so many like courses and stuff, you know, over the years, and that are just like sitting there because they were a bright shiny object that I was like, oh, this will probably help me, that I just never touched because I didn't have time for it. And like, and then just the piece of like when you're hiring people, and then when you kind of like expect them to get their jobs done, or you know, you have these expectations of them, you feel like you've communicated them or that you've trained them in a certain way, and yet here you are at the end of the day still feeling stressed out, still feeling overwhelmed, still feeling like stuff isn't getting done, still sitting at like 1,000 emails in your inbox. And it's like, wait a second, like didn't I hire people to like help me with this? And then it's like that whole, you know, that emotional, that feeling part that you mentioned before with dating your business. Like, I feel bad, like firing this person, or I feel bad telling them what to do. You know, it's because we're not in that role as an entrepreneur. We are in like the creative vision, like space.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's a thing too. Like when the creatives are the ones that are working in the admin role, is that they are in love with their ideas, and they want every single person on their team that they're outsourcing to be in love with their ideas. And they've just like, here's my idea, figure out how to make it happen.
Mm-hmm.
And like, they're not all on the same page. They don't have your goals. They don't have your vision. They don't have all the pieces. They're just being thrown this one thing. Like, you do my branding, you do my customer service, and they're like, okay. And you're frustrated because they're not all on the same page. And each person that you're hiring to take things off your plate is just now adding more to your plate. You're like, I have another person to manage, and I have more overhead. And there's not that cohesiveness between all the team members, because you're managing every single one of them, which takes you away from creating. It takes you away from doing the Walt work, you know. That's like being in that place of how can we serve better? How can we make our education better? How can we do those things? Like, that's your zone of genius. And here you're being pulled away from that. And that's the profit producing task.
Yeah.
And you're doing all of the things that are the admin tasks of managing the people. And you're not a manager. Like, that's not your wheelhouse. And you're doing things that's like, it's like, and I always tell people, I'm like, you need to behave like an employee in your business. Like, CEOs are employees. Stop being a solopreneur. That is like one of the worst things for someone who wants to get past 6 figures. Like, you have to stop being a solopreneur. You have to think like an employee. You have to think like a CEO, and you have to be like, would I hire someone like me? And you're like, I am wasting time all the time if I'm just all over the place, or I've got 500 browsers open, or I'm constantly spending money because I'm buying course after course after course, and I'm not implementing. That's a terrible employee. Like, you're terrible with money. You're terrible with management. You're terrible with delegating. You're terrible with execution. Like, all those things. You're like, would you hire someone like you to run your business? And if you can't honestly say that you would hire someone just like you to run your business, you're like, oh, I wish there was 2 of me. No, get someone who's totally different than you to run your business, because you suck at running a business.
Yep.
Do that thing that you're amazing at, and hire people to come and take over all of that. So that's usually one of the roles that are not talked about with 7-figure businesses. They don't talk about their team. They're usually telling you, like, this is our Facebook ad strategy, but they're not talking about the team that is managing it for them.
Yeah.
They're just like, here's all the steps. And so you're like, okay, I'm going to do this. And you take on that Facebook ad strategy, but you don't realize there's 5 people that they're using to run that Facebook strategy based on their vision that their team has a hold of, you know?
Right.
And
Right.
so they never talk about that. That is what frustrates me so much about 7-figure businesses, is they don't like to talk about the things that they don't get credit for.
Right. That's absolutely right. And that's interesting that you pointed that out because I see that with some of the seven-figure entrepreneurs that I follow, like on social media. They're talking about how great their life is and they're talking about how much money they make and everything. And I know, I'm like, but you have a team of people running
Yeah.
your shit. Like
Yeah.
I know you do.
Yeah.
And to like sell your business as the way it is and that you're doing it all is not really true. But then on the other hand, like I think sometimes that we get into a position where like we we limit ourselves, we have these like limiting beliefs about ourselves, like, well, I'm not good at that, or like I'm afraid of technology in this way, so let me just hire it out instead of spending any time to learn it. And then you end up hiring someone almost out of like desperation.
Yep.
And then it's like not necessarily the right person in place. And you kind of, I don't know, like I do this, like there are things like in my business and I'm like, I don't understand that. So I'll have somebody else do it. But now I'm like, but what if I want to replace that person? Or what if I want to reduce my overhead? I really need to figure that shit out for myself.
Yeah. And it doesn't necessarily mean that you have to be the one to figure it out. It's just, and that's what having an integrator come in and figure out how to systematize it so that there is a process. You're like, so if you hire someone, say if you outsource to someone, you're like, set up a client workflow for me so that I have the same process. Here's email series that goes out. Here's questionnaires, like set it up, but set it up in a way that it's a template. And a checklist so that I know how to go in and see what you did. So I can go in and reproduce what you did. Or if I hire someone else, I'm like, this is what we did before. Follow this step by step. Here's all of our templates. Here's all of our strategies. Here's how nobody systematizes things. So when they outsource, you hire a project manager and you're like, set up my business, and then when that project manager leaves, so goes the business. Because that project manager had everything in place. They weren't creating systems. They weren't creating strategies. They weren't creating templates so that they become the everything in the business. And that's not thinking like an employee. And that's
Right.
a CEO. A
Right.
CEO treats everybody as expendable. Like you are expendable. Every single person in your business should be expendable. You should never solely rely on one person to be that because you're like, or lose them, what will happen? You're like, no.
Right.
Your everything should be like, you should have policies and procedures for everything that happens in your business because that is how you're able to scale because you can bring on team members and you don't have to do as much hard training. You're like, here's our policies. Here's our procedures. Here it is. Follow the checklist. Follow the template. Here it is. And how you're able to scale. You can spend more time doing profit producing tasks and your team. Oh, I'm sorry.
That's okay.
My battery's dying. So.
Oh gosh.
Great. Sorry.
No worries.
And so, you're spending time being able to scale your time doing profit producing tasks. They're able to scale their time because they're not constantly having to learn or you teaching them. It's all ready to go. And so those are those things that a lot of people don't think of. You're like, I need to be thinking of how is this going to work in 5 years? And making decisions of like, this takes me time right now to set this up, but this is going to be so helpful in 5 years. And you're married to your business, you're going to want things in place for 5 years. You're
right.
Like, here in 5 years, I need to know what my so if I have a customer service girl, I want her to have all the canned, responses to go. So I don't have to train her of like, how do I respond to that? You're like, here's our workbook of like, these are common questions we get. Here is the copy and paste responses. Zip, zip, zip. You don't have to train her. Just here it is. Look for it. When you find it, be resourceful, do a word search, those things help for 5 years and 10 years down the road so that you're not constantly being the one to do the training. Training takes so much time and money away from a business. It does, like training people. And so you have to think like, what do corporations do that make training really simple? Well, they systematize everything. They have everything ready to go. And so those are the things that when you want to scale and you want to get to those past the 6-figure marks, like those are how you increase the quality of your efforts. Because every time that you're doing things that are not profit producing, you're putting a ceiling on your ability to scale and grow. You're you're just really limiting yourself. And so
Yeah.
usually you are the problem in your business when people are like, I don't know why I can't make more money, or I can't find more clients, or I can't, like, it's you are the problem.
Yeah.
And that's usually the first thing you need to resolve, is that you are the problem. And it's because you are doing the things you weren't created to be. You're outside of your wheelhouse. And instead of beating yourself up, find that person that can support you in that, and don't be so quick to hire. That's the other thing. Don't be quick to hire. Because a lot of times people just are like, oh, she's amazing, I just need a virtual assistant. Anyone will be better than anything. Like, nothing. And you're like, no, you can actually make it way worse.
Yeah.
You can make it way worse. And so being really clear on what are you struggling with. You're like, this is what I'm really, really bad at. This is what I really, really need. And not just saying like, oh, I can do that for you. Being like, no, but can you do this? Like being very, very specific about what your needs are. I even like, before hiring people, with my own team, I will do like personality profiling. And that's something you can do that's really quick and simple. There's a lot of free profiling with like Myers-Briggs or iPersonic. There's tons of them. And you can be like, hey, will you want to take this quick, 15-minute test so I can see what your strengths are? Because then you're like, no, this is not going to be the right person for me. You can learn a lot about those kind of things, of like what they think they can do, what, their personality is, or you can know how to better capitalize on people, where you can even see like, well, it looks like they have a strength in this and I could be using that in my business.
Yeah.
But I'm going to be biased, because I think that the role that I play for entrepreneurs of being that integrator, that bridge, and it's like the chief operations officer, the COO, it's like the vice president of having someone behind the scenes is so incredibly valuable. And that's what you're going to find. There is one behind every 7-figure business. And the thing is that they are never front and center. And that's the thing that you're always like, why don't I know about those people? Is they don't want to be known about. It's just our personality. Is our job is to make that main person shine. Like that, our job is, and so if we try to take credit for that, it's diminishing you. So those kind of roles you don't hear about is because they don't want to usually be known about. Like we're just working quietly behind the scenes. And so having someone that can filter all your ideas, come up with plans, come up with strategies, and then be the one that delegate to all the rest of the team and keep everybody on the same page. Integrators are really amazing because they can see both the vision and see the pieces of the technicians. It's like this personality type have. There are others out there like me, but they were very rare, because we can see both the vision and where visionaries see the big ideas, they don't know how to get it done, and then the technicians just see their job. Right. Just that one thing. Yeah. And so integrators, hiring someone who's an integrator that can manage your business for you and manage you, not just your business, but manage you. Yeah.
Yeah. Like, I think that's such a good point. We don't realize, like, we actually do need somebody to manage us.
Yes, you do. And, like having scheduling, it's so much easier because you guys are really good. And that's what I love about visionaries, is that the visionaries always say they're bad at time management. And
that's so true.
So bad at time management. They're reading books about time management. I'm like, stop trying to learn. Stop trying to be good at time management, because time management is for technicians. Those are for the people that are like doing all of the back end work and they need to be efficient. Creative entrepreneurs should not be good at time management. And it's like, I'm willing to like fight on this one, because like, you should not be. You should be daydreaming all the time. That is what you do best. You should be like, what about this? And what about this? That's what you should be doing, because that's what you're really great at. You should be talking about your ideas. You should be, getting creative and communicating with people. You should be talking about things, because that's what fires you up. That's where you're best. And then you need someone that's listening to that and going, here's what we can do with that. Here, like, and I don't know if that's a great idea, but this is something we can work with. And and here's how we can do that.
Yeah. And I think that that's important to have that as well. Like, you're like the person in our corner that is both like keeping us accountable, cheering us on, because it's lonely. Entrepreneurship, it can be really lonely. Yeah. Like, who can cheer us on, and who can also like reel us in a little bit and say like, all right, yes, like, great idea. This is how we can implement it. Why don't we take the steps to do this in like, on like this date instead of right now.
Yeah. Like, can you have this to me by Friday? Like,
yeah.
That's a great idea. Can you have that to me by Friday? And I think that that's the way I like to work with visionary creatives, is giving them, because when you guys have deadlines, when you put things out, and that's the thing, that frantic thing, you guys will work your asses off to launch something, because when you're like, oh, I said I'm going to have it launched at 12 p.m., you hold yourselves accountable to that. And you will sacrifice sleep.
And we do. And if it's the January 1st deadline, and I'm the same way, we're doing it on December 31st.
Yeah. And you're going to ignore your family. You're not going to be exercising. You're not be eating. You're going to be eating at your desk. You're going to be making all of these bad decisions, but you're going to meet that deadline. And so that's what proves that you're not bad at time management. You're bad at idea management.
Yeah. Oh my God. Yeah.
It's not a time management, because if you can meet a deadline, you're good at time management. To me, that's enough. That's all you need. Your day, and everyone's like, oh, I'm so bad at time management. No, you're not. You're just bad at idea.
Yeah.
And so you're just spending all your time doing the wrong things.
Yeah.
Of course, you feel bad at time management because you're doing all the things you hate. And
you're right. And then we also, I know you get this too, that we feel that mom guilt. We feel like, oh my God, like, I'm just like working all the time, and I'm frustrated with my kids, and I'm yelling at them, and I'm, cause you're right. Like, we feel like we're on that like time crunch, but really it's that we've been so distracted.
Yep.
And we are allowing ourselves to get so distracted and not focus on one thing, and feeling so overwhelmed with all of the things.
Right. Exactly. And so that's the things that's like, stop. If you feel like you're bad at time management, that's the first sign that you're doing the wrong things.
Yeah.
And just don't try to figure out how to be better at time management. Figure out how to stop doing more of those things. Like, just stop out of that area, and looking at hiring someone that can take that on for you, that can kind of like rein you in, but not a rigid schedule. I don't think schedules are good for creative entrepreneurs. And like Gary Vee is like, I think is like a really good example, but also a really bad example. He's definitely one of those kind of people that you're like, you can get 100 things done, but he also has people following him around constantly, so he can spit out an idea. He's got all these people managing everything, but he never stops. So he's like a good example, but also a bad example, where I don't think the quality of his life is really replicatable.
No. And he's been very open in saying that, like, I appreciate his honesty here, but he's like, I would rather work than spend time with my family. Like, he's just really into his work, and maybe that statement will like hurt his children's feelings, like, in years down the road or something.
Or maybe appreciate how much he's invested in their things, because it's like some parents like, I want my kids to grow up and become their own person, and they don't get them involved in activities and stuff, and these kids they grow up as adults and they have no hobbies, no talent. Like, maybe he's investing more in their education and activities, and actually could be setting them up better than spending constant time.
I agree. I agree with you.
Maybe his energy is like, Dad, you're overwhelming. And be giving them a better life sometimes by providing for them and setting an example, so the time he spends is quality, and it might not be quantity. Yeah,
absolutely.
And so you just need to know yourself, and that's what's really important, is just really know yourself. And that's what I think. And I think my battery is about to die, so if I have to wrap it up and you lose me, just know yourself. That is so incredibly important, and don't deny that creative side of you, the visionary part, that entrepreneurial spirit of wanting to do all the things. Don't deny that, but look for other people that can run everything else for you.
So speaking of that other people, how can people that are watching this now, how can they find you and get in touch with you? And Alicia, I feel like this is like part 1 of a discussion, and we should do like another part 2, because like, I know everyone in my network I'm going to push this out on like LinkedIn and my social and stuff. And like, I have a lot of people in my network that are just emerging entrepreneurs, like they're just getting themselves started. And then I do have a lot of others that are hitting that 6-figure mark and want to go beyond. And what we're talking about now, I mean, like, I'm on an email list for a woman that I believe is about a 7-figure earner. She could be multiple 7 figures, who's gone through some life changes this year. She was even considering like shutting her business down. And what she did was she eliminated the majority of the people that worked for her. I think she kept like 1 or 2 VAs, brought everything else just to herself, because I think she's in the same exact position that like I'm in, that a lot of other people are in, where like everything that we talked about, we've hired all these people, we don't have systems in place, we still feel like we're doing everything, we have all these ideas, and we don't have someone like you to rein us in. So how can we get in touch with you?
Okay, so my website is risingstrategy.com, and you can set up a call. There's a form on there where you can set up a call with me and we can talk about your business. I don't have like fancy sales pages, and just because every business so different and every need is so different. And so I just get on the phone. I do a free 1-hour breakthrough session where I can just talk about your business, what you need, and what I would do if I were in your place, like, okay, I really think this is what your business needs. And I can just be able to talk and see if we're a good fit for each other. If I'm not, I usually will be like, give other suggestions of like, because there is a time and place where some people, to value the work that I do as an integrator and setting up systems and all that kind of thing, is sometimes you have to hit rock bottom and know the value of that. I think that's usually the place that so many people believe that solopreneur is a goal. Like they want to figure out how to run a business all by themselves. They're like, I just want to be me. And that's their goal. And then and that's fine for some people. That's totally fine. But if you're wanting to scale and grow and you're frustrated with the ceiling that you've hit, you're going to need to bring people on.
Yeah.
You have to first hit rock bottom and know that you're like, I can't do this on my own anymore. Because you will understand the importance of all the that need to be put in place, because hiring someone like me is one of those expenses that don't have an immediate return, where it's not a sexy overhead kind of thing that you're investing in. Like, oh, I did this and I produced X amount of clients, and you don't get to have those awesome conversations of transformation of being like, oh, I'm now producing X amount of dollars. You don't see that immediate payoff. And so it's a business investment that you have to be married.
Oh, I think we lost Alicia. But I hope that you guys got so much out of our call today. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to link this as a part 1 with Alicia, and we will go on to doing like a part 2. I actually think that we could do an entire series on strategies and entrepreneurship and scaling up to 6 figures and well beyond. I mean, I know that is my goal. And, it's not all about the money, but it is like, the more money that we're making, I think that we need to wrap our heads around that too. Like the more impact we're making. Sometimes entrepreneurs feel like dirty about charging more and making money. I know I get into that position all the time. Like, oh, like I don't want to, charge this much. I don't want to increase my prices. And the fact of the matter is, like, sometimes you have to increase, not just to like, support your own business, but because you want the right people who are going to invest more. They'll be more invested in it. And so they're going to get more out of it. So I know we got cut off. I hope you got a lot out of it. Alicia, Alicia, at risingstrategies.com is how you can get in touch with Alicia. I'm going to give her a call soon so I can write her a check, because I need this help in my own business. And, I can even like document what my work is like with her. And, like I said, we can kind of do a series together. And so that you guys can all see how things are unfolding in my own life and business, in working with somebody who is a strategist. And, maybe this is something that you want to do for yourself. So with that said, I'm going to hop off, and I hope that you guys got a lot out of this. And you know what? Like, you and your life and your business and all the things. I just hope that, you're ready to make decisions that benefit you, that benefit the world, because whatever you're doing, I think is pretty awesome. All right. Bye.